installment on these jazz ride cymbal lessons. I want to talk about how to phrase the eighth note. How much do you swing it? How much do you not swing it? A lot is going to depend on tempo, bass player even, the ride cymbal. There's a lot of things like that that will make you realize like this isn't quite right. I got to adjust something. So how do you get comfortable with all the different ways that you can phrase the upbeat to a ride cymbal? The best way, the way that most people do, and I highly recommend you do this as well, is to learn to imitate other great ride cymbal beats. Think of it like an actor that has to study, an actor or an actress that has to study a particular language or a particular other actor or actress and get their dialect down, right? It's the same sort of thing. It will be up here, it'll be in here where you need it most if you absorb it through great drummers' ride cymbal beats. Guys like Connie Kay and Kenny Clark and Jimmy Cobb and Sam Woodyard and Elvin and Tony and Art Blakey and Billy Higgins. They all have slightly different imprints when they play the ride cymbal. And one of the defining factors for them is how much they actually swing that eighth note. So even at a medium tempo, they're going to swing their eighth notes a little bit differently. At a faster tempo, they're going to even out in general as it gets faster, but that's not some like linear concept with where the faster it goes, the straighter the eighth notes get. It doesn't quite work that way. So the best way to do it, the way I learned how to do it too, was to pick a drummer, and if you really dig the way they play the ride cymbal, study it. How do you study it? You put on headphones, you listen to it over and over again, you get in the practice room and you basically imitate it like you're imitating someone speaking, and you just play with it for hours and hours and hours until you find that pocket. Some guys push on top, some guys lay it back. The less you intellectualize it and the more you internalize it by imitating it, the more it'll be there when you need it to be there. So I highly recommend doing that. And the easiest way to do that, there's hundreds and hundreds of jazz drummers, is to pick your favorites. Just start with them. As a matter of fact, you could just hang out with like your favorite several drummers and get plenty of variation in how to play the ride cymbal. So outside of that, let's talk about a little technique that will get you comfortable with manipulating those upbeats when necessary. This is a little thing I picked up from Stanton Moore. He's talking about how to swing eighth notes, particularly in a New Orleans style, how they're not exactly like quarter note and then a triplet where it's there's lots of variation there. He's got a cool exercise, so I'm going to borrow that exercise from him. And it goes like this. Put on a metronome. You're going to play quarter notes at first. Then what you're going to do is you're going to subdivide and play straight eighth notes. So if we play the ride cymbal beat, it's going to be 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. Perfectly straight. And then as the metronome goes on, we slowly but surely pull back that straight eighth so it's a little bit swung, and then it's even more swung, and then it's a triplet. And then it's more than that, and then it's a 16th note, and even more than that where it's like a 32nd note. And then from there, you work your way all the way back to straight. You just keep doing that over and over again, and your hands start developing the touch to make these little tiny moves with how much you're swinging the eighth note. So let's try a little bit of that exercise. So you can hear in there, I'm slowly bending it down and slowly bending it back up. If you do that over and over, particularly with the metronome, to where you know whether you're rushing or you're dragging while you're trying to do it. Also notice in there that while I'm trying to manipulate the upbeat, I'm trying to be consistent. Remember one of the earlier lessons. I'm trying to be consistent with my 4 quarter notes. Ding, ding, ding. Wherever that upbeat is, I'm trying to not sacrifice or diminish that consistent, steady quarter note drive. And remember, that's just an exercise to get you comfortable with manipulating the swing of your 8th notes. To really understand how to play various ride cymbal beats, it's just best to go straight to the guys who were the guys and girls who came before us, who play these great beats, and then we can get them under our fingers. And then in there, most of us end up finding it's like a mix. It's like, you know, I'm some like weird Elvin Jones meets Jimmy Cobb, which is kind of a strange one, but somewhere in there is like my ride cymbal beat. And for other people's, it's like, you know, like a lot of Billy Higgins with a little bit of Kenny Clark. So there's all of that you can go through till you find your voice on the ride cymbal, and everybody kind of has their own imprint. So check out that exercise. It's actually a lot of fun to do. You can also do it on the drums where you're going to swing something, right? I can play just straight 8th notes. Same concept. Now imagine going through that at various tempos. 100, 120, 140, 200, 250. You start getting up there, and what you'll find is you'll start to see that every tempo range for you will have a little pocket of 8th notes that swing, and you like them there, and you kind of dig that. And then as you go up, that pocket may move a little bit, where you, in general, you'll like them straighter as it gets faster, but you can get in there at a fairly decent tempo and still swing 8th notes just a little bit. Now straight. 1. Now I'm not swinging those 8th notes much, but if you listen carefully, those have slightly different feels. So don't fall into this trap that, oh, if it's, you know, if it's above, you know, 180, that the 8th notes are going to be straight, because that isn't necessarily true. It's got to feel right. How do you know if it feels right? By listening to other great drummers who already done a ton of homework for us, and like that. I want my ride cymbal beat to sound like Tony about that tempo, or I like my ride cymbal beat to sound like Bill Stewart at that tempo, or whoever it may be. Absorb those masters ride cymbal beats, and you'll be amazed at how much it'll help you be more flexible on the bandstand and really find your voice on the ride cymbal. Okay? That does it for me. Thanks so much. Look out for the next ones coming pretty soon. Good luck.